Hey, what's going on, you guys? It's Twisty Duck here. Today we're going to be casting a game between Nexus and Fegits. And Nexus is on the blue side, Fegits on the red side. Nexus has banned Corki, LeBlanc, Sejuani, and Fegits have banned Azir, Blitzcrank, and Maokai. There's been quite a bit of delay in this game. It DC'd the first time, so we had to redo the whole entire champion select again. But Nexus decides to go with the Graves pick like they did last time. Blue side or purple side hasn't really banned Graves. I assume maybe they're using the same bans. Who knows? But purple side does reply with the Wukong and the Morgana ban. I'm not so sure with the Morgana pick, but the Wukong pick is a godlike pick, I guess you could say, because Wukong is a solid champion. The Leona pick comes out on blue side, which honestly, in my opinion, like I've talked about in all my videos, Leona is such a good counter to Morgana, even though she is, because Leona can stun more than one person and Morg can only black shield one. The Rammus pick does actually, they might not go with the Leona itself. Okay, they're switching back to Janna, and forget what I said, it's not going to be a Leona, and we'll have to see how this lane goes out. Graves and Janna is a good lane because Janna can give Graves a shield, and Graves can use that shield to poke, and Graves has really good burst. He can like poke duel really well with that shield. And I'm not really sure about the Kog'Maw pick against a Rammus, because as Kog'Maw, even though you'll deal a lot of damage to Rammus, if you get caught by Rammus, you're kind of done for. So like you'd have to pick something like Ezreal, like even though your damage won't be as high, but you can at least stay alive and deal some kind of damage. But we'll see how the game goes as it progresses later on. The Aurelia pick coming on top side for purple side. It's a strong pick, I'd say. She's been seeing a lot of play recently. Wicked's been playing her as well, and actually, no, they decide to change it. They decide to change to the Rumble, a more teamfight oriented champion per se, combining Wukong's ult with Morgana and Rumble. They have a little bit of AoE in the teamfight, but honestly, I'm just worried about Kog'Maw here. If Kog'Maw can live in teamfights and doesn't get caught or taunted by Rammus or Tryndamere, it only gets worse for Kog'Maw as the time goes on. But as long as that doesn't happen to Kog'Maw, purple side will always out damage blue side throughout the whole game, except for that mid game where Graves has that bit of power spike. The Katarina pick would be good, I guess, against their team comp, especially with the Rammus taunting somebody, and Katarina can burst and get her little reset thing going on. But they don't really seem to be picking Katarina. They're going towards the Jace / Xerath poke-ish, I guess, poke comp. But I don't know, we'll have to see how this goes. But Dread Knight does in fact pick up Aurelia, and they're going with the Vel'Koz. Not sure how this is going to turn out. They don't really seem to have a lot of poke, but they do have a lot of disengages with Janna. The Lux pick definitely better than Vel'Koz, I'd say. Catch somebody, taunt, and then burst somebody down. But overall, teamfight wise, like if Janna doesn't peel really well for Graves or Lux, I'd say purple side has the better teamfight comp. The Nidalee jungle or Nidalee top or mid does come in. Yeah, it's a Nidalee mid, my bad. Maybe they're switching up, but it does look like it's gonna be a Wukong jungle, so I don't know, it could be Nidalee or Ezreal, something else, but we'll have to see. If it isn't Ezreal though, all blue side has to do is build armor, and they'll be fine, unless it's an AP Ezreal, which in most cases won't be, because as high damage AP Ezreal is, he's not that reliable. He's like, it's better to go AD. You have more sustained constant DPS. Bless you. Alright, so the game is about to be beginning. Well, we do have a 3-minute delay, so yeah. Wait 40 seconds and then 3 after that, and then we'll have to load the game. There's a 1 minute and 55 seconds until the game starts unveiling, and then we'll see how the lane progresses. Like, in my mind right now, purple side has a better comp, okay? You can poke with Kog'Maw, you can poke with Ezreal, have a great disengage with Morgana, and you have a really good pick possibility with Morgana's bindings. And if you do bind somebody, keep poking with Ezreal and Corki's ulti, and that would just mesh so well with with Rumble's ultimate if a fight kind of breaks out after somebody gets caught. But at the same time, you're playing Ezreal and Kog'Maw. It's an AD heavy team, except for like your top laner isn't really a tank, so you have a lot of damage, but you don't really have many tanks. So mostly worried about Kog'Maw, not really about Ezreal, as he can just arcane shift away. But they don't really seem to have a lot of front line. If Rammus and Aurelia can take a lot of damage, like take a lot of damage from Ezreal and Kog'Maw for free, kind of be the front line, they can hopefully win the team fights, as Graves and Lux could probably assassinate. I'm saying assassinate because Graves has insane burst potential mid game after he gets his level 11 ult. Level 11 ult. It's kind of a tongue twister, to be honest. But yeah, a level 11 Graves hits his power spike, and maybe he and Lux could get some picks on. But said, it all depends on who's better. But champion wise, if everybody's equal, my money's on. Yes, I'm casting alone. 140 seconds before the game starts, so bit of delay remaining, but it's not as much as it was before. You guys entertain a bit. Now, how are you guys today? Hope you guys are doing fine. Pop out the chat if there's somebody. Lux is in fact bringing a heal. So is Ezreal, so there's not really going to be a lot of all-in burst fights in the mid lane, I'm assuming. Even if one person gets caught, they can either flash out or use their heal. And mostly it's going to be a farm lane. I mean, it's easier to farm with Ezreal than Lux because Lux has to use her ability, and like all the mana nerfs probably might not be able to keep up with Ezreal. But in that opportunity, if like Ezreal uses his auto attacks to CS, he can probably use his like W or Q to poke once in a while, bring Lux down, and then kind of collaborate with Wukong to get a kill. But it's really hard to kill a Lux though because she has a binding, and if you get caught in that binding, she will have the opportunity to use her E, and maybe if she has her ulti, she could probably like do a lot of damage to you, and then you won't really be able to gank mid again. But we'll have to see how this lane goes. In fact, more excited for the team fights than the laning phase, especially about the Karki. But yeah, let's see how this goes. All right, and we're back. We're back into the game. It's been quite some time now until we started, but everybody's loaded up finally, and we've got things done and readied up. All right, so let's get started. Blue side, Nexus is playing against Fegits, and blue side has Corki, or not Corki, Graves as their AD carry, Janna as their support, Rammus is their jungler, Aurelia is their top laner, and finally Lux is their AP carry, mid laner. And for purple side, Fegits, they have Wukong as their jungler, Agma as their AD carry, Morgana as their support, and finally Ezreal, and, well, not finally, Ezreal as their mid laner, and finally Rumble as their top laner. Kind of look to do some kind of invade here. They have wards out in the river and into the Raptors brush. I don't know why Riot changed the race to Raptors. It sounds weird saying Raptors, but it doesn't really matter because the game is going to be up and they're most likely going to try to get a pick on Janna if they possibly can, but they don't really have any CC apart from Morgana's binding. So if Morgana's binding hits, they might have a chance of killing her. And the Morgana binding does hit. Ezreal hits his auto attack and his Q, and then he does a lot of damage. Janna does in fact shield, and she goes back to into her little raptor brush, and nothing really happens after that. But Janna should recall instead of wasting time, or she is going to be late in lane with low HP, but it does in fact goes to recall. I don't know. I'm not really sure about this recall. She's gonna miss some XP on bottom lane, and it's gonna hurt her in the early stages of the game, but not really so worried, I guess they are, because Janna does in fact have the movement speed, and as Rammus is starting the Gromp instead of the Krugs, which means that Aurelia is going to have to help him push, and Rumble is going to have that little upper edge onto top side. And we have some matchup going on mid lane with Ezreal poking Lux with his auto attacks. Doesn't really do much damage, but it is an early game Ezreal. AD carry doesn't really do all that damage early game. Looking over the top lane, Rumble is just pre-farming with Aurelia, stunning him with her. That's her W. I'm not exactly sure, but Ezreal landing quite a bit of damage onto Lux, hitting all his skill shots and auto attacks. He's done his homework, or he's done his practice before coming into this game, and yeah, I mean it's not really a kill lane as per se, because Lux needs level 6 to burst somebody down without the help of her jungler, and that is if she has some kind of AP or penetration stuff, like with her magic penetration boots that she gets 15 solid penetration from. But going to be a farm lane. Morgana does in fact miss her binding. Graves is going for the duel against Kog'Maw. He does in fact lose a lot of HP. I'm not sure who's coming out ahead, because Graves somehow loses with this passive, and he is actually putting the pain down on Kog'Maw as he retreats. He's not afraid. He's one tough cookie. But back to top lane, Aurelia's farming. Janna nearly misses Morgana's bindings as she moves or sidesteps it, and it doesn't really result in any kind of poke because she misses it. Morgana misses her binding, but Janna seems to be in really good health. Not so much for the Kog'Maw, because his range does suffer when he doesn't have his W activated. I'm not sure what exactly the name is. I kind of forgot. My apologies. It's called Bioarcane Barrage. Okay, a bit of lag here and there, but let me jump to live. Alright, bots pushing towards blue side. It is kind of laggy. It is in fact laggy. Maybe it is just me. I'm not exactly sure, but just check for a second. I'm at 4 minutes and 8 seconds in the game. 4 minutes and 9, 4 minutes 13, 14, 15. Yeah, okay. Alright, Wukong does go on the Lux. He does get binded by Lux. Doesn't really do much after that. But Kog'Maw takes a lot of damage from Graves, and he is forced to retreat as Janna shoos him away with her tornado. And looks like blue side Nexus is kind of taking the lead on bot, as Graves is up ahead 27 to 24. Not really that much ahead, but 3 CS is better than nothing. And he's zoning out Kog'Maw effectively well, as Kog'Maw decides to back because he is low. In fact, Rammus decides to pay a little visit on the bottom lane, but nothing's gonna happen because Morgana knows about it, because Janna's being a bit too oddly aggressive in the lane. But Wukong gets spined by Lux, but Lux takes a lot of damage by Ezreal, and she decides to back, and she doesn't really go through with proccing her passives on Wukong. I don't know, it looks like she doesn't do a lot of damage to Wukong. Maybe he has a lot of magic resist runes. I'm not sure what he's carrying, but gank on top lane though. Wukong wastes his E on Aurelia before she even E's, but it doesn't matter as he flashes and secures the kill as top lane blue side loses a kill. But it shouldn't matter as much as Aurelia does have teleport, and she'll be back in 6 seconds to clear all these minions. But as they see Wukong top, they are going for the dragon, which is really good for blue side if they get it, because nobody seemed to be stopping it. And I don't agree with Aurelia teleporting, because if they need Aurelia down to dragon, it would be really crucial to win that early fight. But Janna does in fact waste her tornado. Does look like it doesn't matter as Wukong is nowhere near the dragon, but it looks like blue side could get affected the fight. Morgana lands her binding onto Terminator. Lux gets caught. Rammus is almost dead. That means if the jungler's dead, oh my goodness. Okay, so red side completely overpowered as Rumble saved his teleport, unlike Aurelia, who wasted it to get back to top lane for no reason at all. But they do get the kill. They don't really seem to get drag. Actually, they got dragon. Red team got dragon, while blue team lost almost 2 people. They lost a guy, and Graves is probably most likely going to be going down. He does in fact almost tries to kill Ezreal, but he doesn't really have the damage. The damage quite isn't really there at this moment in this game, even though he does have a pickaxe. I'm not sure if he just bought that right now. But red team takes the lead, gets 2 kills and a dragon, while Aurelia wastes her teleport, and Rumble is only going to get stronger. Rumble is going to destroy Aurelia in top lane, because he's done so much in the past few minutes than Aurelia has because of her teleport. And Aurelia didn't really do much, because she teleported top and she came back all the way from top back to mid, and she did nothing mid, and she's going back to top now, which means that she's not going to be dealing as much as damage she could have done to the tower if she had stayed top. Maybe she would have gotten the tower with the amount of wave, or rather minions, on top lane. But Rumble is going to get a hefty chunk of gold, and Aurelia backs again, buys a bit of items. I'm not sure what exactly she bought, but I think she completed her phage and she bought some potions. I'm not exactly too sure if she had the phage or not, but I don't know. Aurelia is one of those champs who can come back if they're behind. And she actually, Aurelia will do damage regardless of how underfed she is. But I don't know. Like it's a pretty close game. So yeah, it's gonna be fun, I guess. Morgana poking Karki down a bit in the bot lane. She does have the, what is that item called? The Frost Fang. It's a really good item on Morgana. Keep spamming it every time it's up. It gives you gold, and it lets you deal a bit of poke damage. It's kind of like a mini Luden's Echo. As you guys don't know, I think Luden's Echo is better to build on Morgana than Deathfire, or not Deathfire, Grasp. Deathcap, because Morgana isn't really an assassin. She's all about like wearing somebody down with her CC and then going all in. Luden's really helps amplify that damage, because it deals I think about 124, or like 30% of your like whatever ability power, and has like a little like splash damage, I guess you could say, around everybody. It's not really AoE, but it does hurt more than one person, which is really nice with her W. I'm not sure if she's going to be going here, but she does somehow land a binding onto Graves. Nothing really happens as Janna shields it, and yeah, how this goes on bottom side. Graves is in fact a bit behind Kog'Maw. Kog'Maw has his phage completed, but on top lane it looks like Rammus, or not Rammus, Rumble is kind of bringing down the pain on Aurelia. Doesn't really matter though. Top lane's an island, not much action goes on there until the jungler pays a visit. Even still, if oh, Rammus might die to Krugs here, but no, he does smite it and takes a lot of HP from it, and it looks like he knows what he's doing, and does in fact know how to jungle. I don't know, I've been seeing a lot of people die in the jungle recently, especially after the changes that they've made on Summoner's Rift. Wukong doing the same, gets the red buff, and he's looking for some places to gank. Mid lane is a really good place to gank right now, because Wukong does in fact have his ulti, and it probably will burn Flash if Lux had Flash, but seeing that she doesn't, it's probably a good idea to visit mid lane, and Ezreal is a mid-game champion. He's gonna deal a bit of damage. He does in fact has the tier. That means he's not really gonna be running out of mana whenever he pokes Lux, and he's only gonna scale stronger with the mana items. But Graves is still winning bottom lane, kind of. He is putting a lot of pain onto Kog'Maw, but I mean, to be honest, like all Kog'Maw has to do in lane is CS. Like if Kog'Maw comes even in a Graves lane, it itself is a victory for Kog'Maw, because Kog'Maw is a late game carry and Graves is a mid game carry, and like the damage kind of like depletes from Graves if and when everybody builds tanky. But sadly though, for purple side, they don't really seem to be having a lot of tanks, but Rammus does in fact gets caught by Rumble's ulti and Wukong, but he does go down with his power ball or power spike. I'm not sure what exactly it's called, but his Q ability, which makes him run like Sonic. But he does take the pink down, which is successful as Rumble burns his ultimate, but he flashes into Aurelia. He does a lot of damage. Wukong goes all in, and they might actually get this kill onto Aurelia, and that's Aurelia's second death. Wukong visiting top lane again. If they possibly can get top tower, they might as well be able to get it. Graves putting down a bunch of pain onto Morgana, as he's a dueling champion with his passive and abilities. Can't trade quite well, but top lane goes down for blue side, and it only sets Rumble stronger and ahead into the lane. As if Rumble finishes his Sonya's Hourglass, it's going to be really, really tough for Graves to even burst Rumble down. And seeing how powerful Rumble is mid game with his equalizer, it can only get stronger every moment the game is I guess you could say game is long, I don't know, delayed. Yeah, delayed, I guess. Morgana hits a really good binding. I think that's the longest binding possible that you can hit. Hits the very tip, and Graves gets caught, but it doesn't really do much damage to Graves, as he has his amazing passive and Amar and armor. A lot of good stuff defending him from dealing damage. And I does see the Rammus coming through thanks to Wukong's vision abilities. I don't know, he gives vision, walks around, that's what champions do. He gets control of the Scuttle Crab, as Dragon does in fact respawn. They're looking to maybe start a dragon fight at the moment. I'm not sure. Aurelia does in fact sense it, and see she is rotating down to down mid lane, but she has teleport. She has all the right to stay top lane, and she can in fact teleport down to Dragon if there is a fight that breaks out for Dragon, because she does have teleport. But this is good for top. I think this is good for blue side, because Rumble isn't nowhere near top, and she can probably free farm and get a bit of levels and maybe try to like poke the tower a bit. But Morgana gets caught by Rammus. This is what I'm talking about. This is one of the lane ganks that you gotta be avoiding, because Rammus is one of those champions that are really, really good at ganking thanks to his movement speed. So you want to ward everything. Like if you have a sight stone, you have to pretty much ward everything. But it doesn't matter, because she didn't have her sight stone, and she didn't have the vision or any trinkets per se left to kind of ward the lane brushes. Has to pay for her life. Ezreal does in fact get the blue buff. Should be able to poke Lux really well now, so I'm interested to see how he uses this energy regeneration. Not really energy, but mana regeneration put to good use. But he does in fact miss the cannon, which isn't good, but he is leading by 10 CS in the mid lane on the CS department, so I'm not complaining. Lux goes back to get mid, or not get mid. Lux goes back to get her end of the blue buff, try to deal with Ezreal's infinite mana regen at the moment. But Rammus seems really overprotective about his jungle, saving his pink wards, but it seems like it doesn't really matter that much, because Janna could be getting caught if Morgana hits a binding, but she doesn't really seem to be hitting bindings, as blue side doesn't really have any ward controls in the river. But I'm not so sure about this dragon. But Aurelia does TP into the bot. I don't know what Wukong is doing, trying to catch enemies down, but red team does in fact get the dragon. It looks like they don't really need the jungler, and Morgana gets a really good binding onto somebody, and then she gets a kill, and then Corki gets a kill onto Aurelia, and Rumble kills Graves and Janna, I believe. I'm not exactly too sure. But Rammus is caught between 3 people. I do not know what he's doing, but Rumble might go down to Lux as he isn't that tanky, but Karki kind of gets, or not Karki, Kog'Maw kind of saves his life by healing him, and he is safe as a pickle in a jar. Yep, safe as a pickle in a jar. I have no other analogies to put for you guys, but yeah, I mean, looking at the scores, blue team seems like the better team here. They have better team play. The one thing I don't agree with what blue team did is that your jungler should never ever be zoning out your enemy team, even though it kind of denies the enemy jungler as well. But you're kind of like, if your jungler dies and you can't get the dragon as fast, you're kind of like screwing yourself over with the mid game phase of the game, because as late game comp as red team has, like, they can lose it because mid game always overpowers late game champion. Mid game burst is just like really high, and Lux isn't one of those champions that should be messed with because of a recent passive change, which actually scales with levels now. And it's, I don't know, Lux is a solid champion. Like, she's not a late game, but she holds a team really well mid game. She holds the towers well, and if you can carry that mid game phase and get Aurelia and Rammus tanky to oblivion, then it doesn't matter if the enemy has late game champions. They can basically tank them out, because as Purple said, like I said before, they don't really have a lot of tanks. They have Wukong, who's gonna get the most tankiest. Rumble isn't the tankiest person in the world. Graves does in fact use his ulti. Wukong almost dies, but he doesn't die, so it's a waste of his ulti. But blue side might get the bot tower while red side replies by taking the mid tower down. I'm not sure if it's a worthy trade, because I don't know. I feel like red side could have rotated better. Ezreal could have been bottom. I'm in fact lagging a bit. It's my internet, not the game. I do apologize for that. I can't really follow the game that well. But Morgana hits a really nice binding onto Graves as they run. But Lux does in fact connects her final spark onto Morgana, but doesn't really seem to be doing a lot of damage. She does live with I think 20%, 15% of her HP and going back, so even still Lux's ulti isn't that big of a cooldown. I think it's like 60 seconds at level 1. I'm not, but let me confirm it. It is 42 seconds with the cooldown she has, so it should be near 60 seconds. She has about 20% CDR, so that something. Aurelia finally gets top lane. Rumble could have easily stayed there to defend, but he decides to take Krugs rather. But either ways, oh hello. Either ways, it doesn't really matter because Rumble is in fact low on HP, so maybe he's just doing it to buy some kind of item. He's gonna buy the needlessly large rod. I'm not sure what he's buying, but what he bought rather, but something helps than nothing. Baron is supposed to spawn in 1 minute and 35 seconds. Not that any teams are going to be willing to take it, seeing how close this game is. There isn't really much happening now. Like they've been fighting 2 times in a dragon, and honestly, it looks like blue side has a better team fighting synergy than. Or not blue side. Red side has a better team fighting synergy than blue side. But Morgana does in fact get caught by Rammus. I don't know what she was thinking there, but Rumble lands a really nice equalizer. Doesn't really seem to be doing a lot. But Lux, this is what we're talking about, guys. Lux's mid-game damage is insane. Lux hits a really nice binding and she combos her ability with Rammus' taunt and she takes Rumble down, and blue side can finally get the bottom tower, or not the bottom tower, the mid tower down, while Karki has to run while he doesn't really have anybody to peel for him. Aurelia goes ham onto Ezreal. She doesn't really seem to be connecting further on, but Janna does in fact also heal everybody onto the team. Kog'Maw looks a bit aggressive, tries to go on to fight, but nobody really wants to fight a Kog'Maw right now. They've all retreated. I don't think the Janna ulti is that necessary right now, but I mean, if you're not really fighting, it doesn't really matter, as her ulti should be up in a while. So I mean, even though it's one of the abilities that doesn't really have that big of a cooldown, it does in fact it will in fact be impactful, because they probably won't have it for the dragon fight, which is coming in the next minute, as her ulti is a little over than 2 minutes on the cooldown. So, blue side, if they do decide to fight the dragon, they'll have to fight without the Janna ultimate. So, Love to see how this one turns out. Rumble is preparing for his 50% bonus damage on his Q with his like passive, or not passive, with his energy meter, rage meter. I'm not sure what exactly that is, but overheat meter. Yeah. I'm not really a Rumble player myself. I do know what Rumble does, however, and I really like the champion. But one thing I find really weird are his auto attacks. They don't really feel all that responsive for me, for my personal taste. But Red side does in fact have a really nice rotation, and they try to get they rather get bottom tower. I don't know why they're recalling so early when Dragon is about to be up in 10 seconds. They do stop half of their backs as they're trying to push bottom with the blue buff, so it's good. Have in fact seem to have crashed, which isn't good to be honest, because everybody's paused. I think it's my intro. My intro's been crap lately. But Morgana is going to get caught if she progresses, and I'm not sure what's happening. I don't know if you guys can see this lag, but I'm lagging on my end. So yeah, I don't know what's happening. Okay. Not sure. Yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Wukong should never be this far into the enemy side whenever your team isn't even there to follow up. But Kog'Maw gets free damage onto Rammus. Free auto attacks are probably the ones he needs right now, because it's really hard to play Kog'Maw against a Rammus. But Lux hits a really nice binding, deletes Morgana out of the equation, and Ezreal hits a really nice true shot barrage, and Graves completely bursts down Rumble, and Wukong gets taken down by Rammus, and Kog'Maw has to run from the Rammus. And like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you can't auto attack a Rammus, if you can't auto attack, don't play Kog'Maw against a Rammus, because he is going to come for you, and you can't really peel for yourself. And you have a Rumble top and a Wukong top, well, your team comp is dependent on going on the enemy team, and you don't really have anybody but Morgana, who gets deleted in fact by Lux. So that basically means it's one dragon for blue side, which is going to help them in that early game deficit that they had. But they don't really seem to be having that as right now, as they've finally have taken the goal lead on the game. It's taken them about 22 minutes, as a matter of fact. They're ahead by 100 gold, not very much. It's a pink ward, but it is a pink ward that she's taking down, so that is 200 gold at the moment. It is only going to get higher and better, and it's, yeah, I don't know. This mid team fight is heavily favored to blue side, even though purple side does in fact have the better comp. If in fact purple side had Graves instead of Kog'Maw, it would be such an easy raffle stomp, because Graves can easily take a lot of damage. Graves can easily take a lot of heat, and he can easily burst people down and duel really well, unlike Kog'Maw. You guys saw how Kog'Maw's auto attack, well, basically saw how Kog'Maw's auto attacks, where they got, well, I mean, Rammus's W kind of has a little Tarn melee effect, so you don't really do much damage and you take a lot of damage. And Kog'Maw isn't really all that fed at the moment. He does in fact seem to be going for the Blade of the Ruin King rather than the Infinity Edge. As he notices, they're gonna be tanky, but it won't be looking good if Kog'Maw hits Rammus the whole entire game, because if blue team has to win, Kog'Maw has to hit Ezreal or Lux from the distance. Or not Ezreal, Graves, because by the time he's gonna be dealing enough damage to kill Rammus, blue teams or red team's front line will be dead, and they don't really seem to be building all that tanky as well. Like, you have your Hex Drinker, but what is that gonna do? It's not really that big of a tanky item, and Aegis isn't like honestly that big of a deal. Like, of course it's gonna help you against the Lux, but it's not a game changer. It's not a Warmogs, it's not a Sunfire Cape, it's not a Randuin's. And Rammus goes 2 ham, but it doesn't really matter, because Lux hits a really nice binding on 2 minions and then hits Morgana with her ulti and kind of takes her down. If I were this Lux, I would consider buying a Magias, but won't really be that big of a deal, as she does in fact have Rabadons. It's gonna help her as much as it does help her if she was building a Magias, but if she does in fact build a Magias and she doesn't manage to die in the next 20, or not even 20, at least in the next 15 minutes, she would scale insanely well. It's like the equivalent of building tier on Ezreal. You kind of like grow it like kind of buffs your like scaling because you're gonna be dealing a lot of damage with your Muramena. Like I said, 280 carries isn't really ideal against a Rammus and a Aurelia. You don't really deal a lot of damage. Kind of have to depend on your Wukong and your Rumble to take them down. But if pause does in fact come out, I'm not sure why they're pausing, but looks like red team is the one that's paused. Has disconnected. Good. But we'll be right back after the pause. So yeah. I hope it doesn't really take that much because I kind of want to see more action in this game. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Alright, it doesn't really seem to be that big of a pause. The game does resume, in fact. And Lux hits a really nice double binding on to Wukong. And Morgana, I think, I'm not really sure. I couldn't really see. But Rumble hits a really nice ultimate, keeping them away. But it doesn't really matter because they get a tower in exchange for Rammus's life. And honestly, I don't know if it's a good trade or not for red side. But it's a good trade for blue side. And it's only going to make their mid-game power spike bigger, and it helps Kog'Maw. I'll let you know that because Kog'Maw does in fact have that weak early game where he doesn't deal a lot of damage. Getting a kill doesn't really mean that you're gonna be fed to oblivion. It does help you get your mentality back and kind of play a bit better, as he hasn't died yet. He's been doing his job well, but the thing is, has he been doing the carrying though? Because if you're playing a champion like Kog'Maw, you have to hyper carry, especially with a team comp like this, where they don't really have many tanks. It's such a hard thing to do. Both teams give their mid laners the blue buff. I recall. I'm fairly confident on the Janna. She's been doing really well with her abilities, and same goes for Lux. Game does in fact crash, so I'm gonna have to reconnect. It's related to my internet, so yeah, I'll be back in a second. Alright, I am back finally. The game has loaded. It looks like some things have been going on. I'm not exactly sure what's been going on, but the game is kind of laggy on my end. I do apologize for that. I can't really cast well if I can't see what's going on in front of my screen. But it looks like blue side has actually gotten their dragon, the second dragon to be more specific, and it's only going to help them push towers. 15% more damage to towers and structures. Really good for them. So yeah, there you go, blue side. Good job. There is another pause, in fact. I think somebody had disconnected, but hopefully it shouldn't be taking a long time this time around. Rumble seems to be having some internet issues at the moment. But we'll be right back.
A summoner has reconnected.
Looks like they're back in the game. Lux hits a really nice binding onto Wukong and ultim and does go down with Burst of Aurelia. And they keep continuing to push the top inner tower. Yeah, it's going really well for blue side. There has been some pauses lately. I do apologize for that. Some guys have been DCing, especially this Rumble. But it sucks for purple side because, well, Rumble is really detrimental to their comp, or not detrimental, is really important to their comp. So he did really well in laning phase, but he does in fact gets outscaled by Rammus' sheer tankiness at this point in game, as mid game is about to go away. Gonna scale into late game, but as far as the goal lead, blue team has done really well for themselves. They've fended that early game really well against blue side, or against red side, even though they kind of messed up the early dragon. But considering that, they've come back into this 5,000k goal lead, or 5,000k goal. That's a lot of goal, but 5,000 goal lead under 30 minutes, which is really nice. Lux, in fact, gets caught by Ezreal and she has to flash, but Ezreal doesn't really go in for the kill, even though he does in fact has his flash. But yeah, does end up burning Lux's flash. However, good thing that it's a good thing to burn enemy AP carries flash. But Morgana does in fact go down to Aurelia, and now Rammus is having connection issues, and blue side are the ones that pause. Yeah, like, I don't know, man. People need to get better internet connections, I guess. But he does in fact reconnect back into the game, and we will be starting hopefully soon, I hope, because there's been way too many pauses lately. Pauses, nobody likes pauses, because pauses are for shitty people with shitty internet. But anyway, if you guys don't get that reference, I do apologize, because I don't mean to offend anybody. It's just a reference that I'm making. If you guys do get it though, awesome, that's amazing. Anyway, yeah, Rammus does in fact does state that Rammus is reconnecting, or he has reconnected in fact, and they are pausing the game, and hopefully there shouldn't be any more pauses in this game, and we can finally have some fun, see how the game turns out. Kog'Maw tries to farm as many CS as he possibly can, try to get a lot of gold, because he's the hyper carry in this team. Ezreal not really being the hyper carry, but he's one of the people that keeps the job easier for Kog'Maw, because as many times as he pokes, he is only putting red side at an advantage, and Godspeed be with them, I guess. I don't know. Blue side has really good wards onto the Baron pit, or not the Baron pit exactly, but onto the Baron. They don't really seem to have vision over the little ward the red side has on the inside the Baron pit. So even if they do Baron, red side will know, and they can in fact contest it. Sweepers coming out for Wukong and Morgana. Not anybody else. Rumble has decided to go with the yellow upgraded trinket, the warding totem, which is interesting. Likewise with Aurelia, they have both upgraded it. I guess it helps them to split push, kind of like give a lot of vision, I guess, to each of the champions. But man, blue side has in fact increased their goal lead. They've been increasing it by almost 1,000 every minute, which is insane when you think about it. Or almost 2 minutes, I'm sorry. But at 6k now, and they're pushing into the Nexus towers. But Wukong gets a really nice Cyclone, and the Rumblebot doesn't really seem to be doing as much damage. They can't really seem to burst the Rammus down. Ezreal gets taunted and exhausted by Janna and Rammus, and he does in fact go down. And it is really, really looking grim for red side. They don't really have the damage, even though they're a late game comp. They just don't have the damage yet. Red team is just overpowering them completely. Lux hits a really nice binding onto Morgana. She does in fact go down, and the tower goes down as well. Morgana gets caught by Graves. He does in fact kill her with his collateral damage and gets the inhibitor. And Rammus is just circling around the inhibitor. He doesn't really get it, I assume, that he can cancel his Q immediately right after to get the tower. But it doesn't really matter, because they got the inhibitor as well, and they're going to look for some other things to push. I would recall at this moment because bot is in fact pushing, like push bottom, go recall, back to base, buy stuff, take everything you can possibly get from red side, like they've been getting right now. They're getting their blue buff, giving it to Lux, kind of refreshes her own blue buff to say, and then increases her damage. I guess like the more cooldown Lux has, the more pick potential she has. And the more times she hits her binding, the more chances of blue side winning the game, basically. But as you guys can see here, or as we saw in the last fight, they had Doe red side under the tower, and Wukong and Rumble hit a really good ultimate, but they didn't really do much. Even though Kog'Maw's playing really well, he's not playing like he should be playing. He needs to deal more damage, basically. Try to auto attack or duel with Kog'Maw against duel Lux or Graves, which is a really tough thing to do, especially with all the CC and like Aurelia being up in the front line. But that's the price you have to pay. That is the price you have to pay when you pick Kog'Maw into a team like Rammus and Aurelia, where they can completely raffle stomp you and be on your butt 24/7 in team fights. But Dragon doesn't fall in fact spawn, as Blue's team gets their third Dragon in a row. Red team doesn't really want to contest it, neither. The Ezreal all connecting. It is in fact 35 minutes in the game, because this is where blue side might fall off a bit. Lux's damage isn't going to be falling anytime soon, as she is extremely fed at this point. But I'm not sure I could say the same about Graves, but should be fine nonetheless, as long as Wukong doesn't really build any armor, or Rumble doesn't build any extra armor. But if Rumble does in fact build any armor, he's kind of cutting off his own build. But this is just a perfect game for Graves. Like picking Graves into a Rumble top is just really nice. Kog'Maw does in fact do a bit of damage, but he doesn't really all that fearless to attack Aurelia, as he's afraid that she might catch him out of place. But some damage is better than nothing, I guess, but some isn't really gonna cut you the game. So Ezreal does in fact do a lot of damage. He takes a lot of damage from Lux and does in fact connect with the Arcane Shift, but he does in fact go down to Rammus' sheer tanking, as the tower doesn't do anything. Morgana goes down to Aurelia's stun, and so does Wukong. Aurelia does go down from Kog'Maw, but what is that going to do? Kog'Maw doesn't really have a front line now. As long as he kills Graves, however, he can in fact defend this, and it'll be worth for blue side. He might in fact actually kill Graves, but no, Lux's laser does connect. It's a shame that she doesn't kill Kog'Maw. If she does, that would be really, really good for blue side, but not so bad for blue side, however, because red team doesn't really go ham. Too ham rather onto blue side. If Kog'Maw might have gotten kill on Graves, that would be really nice. Really happen. They do in fact lose an inhibitor, so they have to defend. But looking at the game right now, looking at the goal lead, about 7.2k with 3 dragons to 2 and 17 to 9 in terms of kills. Graves does have his not last whisper. Infinity Edge Bloodthirster man mode build completed along with the Static Shiv. I don't know why he even Static Shiv, but as a mid-game team comp, Static Shiv does in fact help much more or help a lot more than Phantom Dancer because of the magic damage it does deal. Because not a lot of people build magic resist apart from Wukong's Hex Drinker, which is gonna help Red side a little bit, but not so much because they don't really have the damage to sustain themselves in fights. But Rammus is completely carrying and making plays at the moment. He is freaking tanky and he is completely outrunning everybody as Lux takes out Wukong from her ultimate and bindings with the help of Rammus's hunt. But yeah, that team coming out really upsetting from their really good comp. Even though this person is playing Kog'Maw really well, I just don't feel like Kog'Maw is a good champion in this team comp. Lux misses her binding by a mile. She could have killed Morgana, but in fact she's going to get caught because she does go two-hand. But Ezreal gets caught by Aurelia. He's probably gonna go down, but he arcane shifts away into Graves, and Graves takes him out. And Aurelia gets stunned by Aurelia stuns Rumble. Rumble's equalizer connecting again. Doesn't really do anything, to be honest, and he gets caught. He does in fact use his Zhonya's, but it is only going to delay the time of his inevitable death. So yeah, two people go down for blue side compared to red side compared to blue side. It looks like Nexus doing really well at the moment. They've got Baron and they've got their empowered recall. All they have to do is push mid and end the game, to be honest. This is what I was talking about. Aurelia has a Trinity Force. That's all she needs for damage. Look at her two other items. She has a Frozen Heart and a Spirit Visage. That means she is going to be tanky as crap. Like, people might argue, okay, yeah, they have tanks. Picking Kog'Maw is really good because Kog'Maw shreds against tanks. The only downside is, while Kog'Maw is a good champion, while this guy is a good player, it's not a good thing to play Kog'Maw when you have a squishy top laner and squishy jungler that just dies. You can't 1v1 people. You completely solely depend on your team kind of take the damage while you hit free auto attacks in the back, unless you're extremely skilled that you can duel and kite. But I don't think a Kog'Maw with Trinity Force can in fact kite an Aurelia with all her gap closers and a Trinity Force. But Rammus, it does in fact go down. Morgana's binding is really long, and the overpoweredness of a 4v1 fight takes them out. Graves isn't all that scared. He is putting the pain down on Ezreal. It's a crit for 575 and plus the Sheen, not the Sheen damage, plus the Shiv damage. But Morgana does in fact gets deleted by Graves. Graves flashes out. Rumble freaking Zhonya's is at the right time, but Kog'Maw kills Graves, which is really crucial for this fight. Red team can actually make a comeback. I don't know why Janos kept her ult so late, but red team is making a really nice comeback. If they can hopefully kill Janna, that'll be really good. But Aurelia is pushing their top inhibitor. This is really scary for red side. They might actually lose a tower because they lost to inhibitor, but Rumble does in fact have home guards. He's coming back to base with the Baron minions, take them out, and Aurelia kind of backs away back to her top lane brush and recalls there. Yeah. I don't know, it's a close game. Like, blue team just has to end the game in the next 15 minutes if they can. Red team is going to overpower them because Wukong is starting to get tanky, and the more tanky items he builds and the more CC he provides in team fights for Kog'Maw could mean the game for blue side. But it's not really all that grim for blue side at the moment, as red team isn't really that far ahead, or blue side isn't that far behind. Kind of lagging at the moment. I can't really tell what's going on, but Ezreal does in fact take Janna out. Well, Aurelia teleports to kill Rumble, but doesn't really seem to be doing so because Wukong juked her with his clone, and he does in fact go down to Kog'Maw, and red team is making a really nice comeback while Morgana hits her active of her item, but Lux hits a really nice binding and ulti combo, takes two people, completely deletes Morgana and Rumble. She flashes in for the kill, gets the scuttle crab, but doesn't really do much. But her E is doing a lot of damage to Kog'Maw and is going to kill herself because Ezreal's Q hits and connects, and but oh my god, there's so much chaos going. I can't even keep up with all this excitement. But Kog'Maw does in fact take Rammus out with his passive, and Rumble, well, Rumble has just respawned, or he's gonna respawn pretty soon, yes, in half a minute. Graves and Wukong enjoy being alone on each team, but I don't know, man. Top inhib going down is really big because that means blue side can get the 4th dragon. If they can get the 4th dragon, that means they're one step closer to getting the 5th dragon, which is perfect because it's going to align pretty close to Baron. Actually, not so well because actually no, forget I said that because Dragon actually has a 6-minute timer, while Baron has a 7. And I don't know, but getting dragons is really good, but it does look like their inhibitors are down and their towers are taking a bit of toll on themselves. Not that good, but this is a really good time for red side to push, or blue side to push, because putting more pressure onto the mid inhibitor and successfully getting it means that you have 2 inhibitors down, and by the time the minions flood into their bases, you can successfully get a free Baron. Kind of like work your way up from there. And if you don't really get it with the Baron, even with the 2 inhibitor, you have a dragon that spawns and you can probably get it. The 5th dragon being really important in this game. Does a lot of damage. What's really fun for me about the 5th dragon is the amount of damage Morgana's W does with the 5th dragon, because it actually starts burning people. It does as much as like having Luden's Echoes passive. But yeah, I mean, all Ezreal has to do is keep poking them. But if he doesn't poke with the minions blocking them, he's not really doing his job. He has to help Kog'Maw as well, because Kog'Maw can't really kite for himself. But Rammus does in fact go to ham. Catches Morgana out, but Morgana saves herself with her binding, but doesn't really matter as Aurelia takes her out, and that's inhib number 2 for blue side.
Hey, wake up.
I love this Rammus's playstyle. He's not afraid of anybody. He just goes ham, but Rumble does in fact waste his ulti, or not ulti, Zonya's. If I were this Rumble, I would ult at the moment because it's a really good time to ult. That's a really good equalizer with the Ezreal ulti, but they do go down, however. They don't... The damage just isn't there. Janna does in fact ulti, does heal everybody. Kog'Maw gets exhausted. He goes down to Lux, and that could be game for blue side if Nexus doesn't die, if Graves doesn't die. Graves does in fact manages to live and actually kills Rumble, and that is in fact game for blue side. They could not have played the team fight much better than they have possibly done in the past few seconds or minutes, or however long they've been fighting this team fight. But there we go, guys. Blue team comes out ahead, and 30-18, and Nexus finally takes the game. Thanks for watching, and see you later. Peace.